Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi. We'll try and okay, it might be trying to go live onto Facebook, I'm not sure, but we'll just carry on anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Karina, welcome back. So,
Thank you very much, Sue.
For those of you out there who don't know who we are, this is Karina Williams, who's a coach and a photographer and artist.
Yeah.
And I'm Sue Orosa, a counsellor, coach and trainer and Reiki practitioner.
And yoga teacher.
And yoga teacher. Thank you.
All around amazing lady.
Yeah, likewise.
Oh. Feeling the love.
So, feeling the love. So we thought we'd come back on today because we had some techie difficulties yesterday with the Zoom recording. So if you're just tuning in today, wondering where we were yesterday, we are somewhere in the ether for yesterday's meeting. We don't know quite what happened, but hopefully you'll be able to catch us today at some point. So we might touch on similar themes, I suspect, from those we discussed yesterday, but let's just see where we go today. We will have probably around 40 to 45 minutes. And really what you're listening to is a conversation rather than an interview, where we will ask each other random questions, but hopefully we will help to inspire and help you to think about your own mental well-being and health. Okay.
Yeah, about having a real conversation, isn't it? So while it's a coaching and mental health and well-being conversation, it's very real. We tend to get very real, I think, when we talk, and we're not afraid of asking the difficult questions, which is, I think, one of the greatest aids in being able to shift from a space that we perhaps aren't comfortable in anymore.
Absolutely. And sometimes it does take that question, doesn't it, to help us kind of dig deeper and go to somewhere where we necessarily wouldn't have gone by ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Digging deeper. There's always another layer we can take a shovel to.
Yes. Take a shovel of bleep. Absolutely.
Yeah. Or a better analogy might be, another layer of the onion that we can peel.
Yeah, that's it. Yes, the nicer analogy. Absolutely. I also teach counselling. One of our students the other night was asking a question about whether would a client necessarily not go to the places where they need to go, and what would happen then. And so we were explaining that actually, it's by offering that a safe space for somebody to explore, that onion, the layers will just peel themselves off gradually and slowly to reveal that stuff, the difficult stuff that needs to come through somehow.
And in your experience, do you feel that there is do you get a strong sense of when that person is ready for that peeling to happen? Are you taking the cue from them, or are you going with intuition?
A bit of both, really, I would say. Definitely working with what's in the room in the present, and also really honouring where that client is, and not wanting to push too far, because I might see a place where they could get to, but that's coming from my own subjective position, subjective reality, and they might not actually be ready. So it's a case of really being patient and working it through with the client from where they are at. But also, sometimes there is a gentle probing and a prompting as well. Tentative. It's a tentative kind of exploration, really, together. Yeah, in that in a space where they feel hopefully trusting enough that they
Mm.
can allow themselves to go to those places. So it's a gradual process, but also sometimes it isn't gradual. Sometimes it can just be quite, something could just happen, a big aha moment that then takes the client to the next level of awareness.
Yeah, I think you hit on a key word there, which is trust.
Yeah.
So trusting that someone is capable of holding that space for us.
Yes.
And trusting that even if it becomes hard, we're going to be okay in that process as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crucial, isn't it? I mean, you must find that with your clients as well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the time, I feel that there is quite an education still needed around what the difference between coaching and therapy is.
Yeah.
So there is a distinctive line of which a coach simply doesn't cross, especially if they're not educated in counselling, and that's when it's our responsibility as coaches to refer them to therapy, if that's what they choose to do, because coaching is very much about a forward movement and making changes and enabling that process to happen by acknowledging things that may have been a pattern from an event in the past, and if they have already acknowledged that event and dealt with it, then that's a great position to be in for coaching, because you can start getting that momentum and action taking introduced into it. However, if something comes up and a client is unaware of what has impacted their current situation that has happened in the past, then that's something to explore through conversation, whether they would benefit from a different type of conversation and support, emotional support.
Absolutely. And I think some people, might think that, okay, I'm ready for coaching, and actually may know at some level that there's something there that needs looking at more deeply, but because of the stigma that counselling has, they might prefer to go to the coaching route because it seems to be more acceptable socially, especially if it's in a work scenario in an organisation perhaps. But inevitably in those situations, that stuff that's holding them back will come up, and like you say, then it's the role of the coach to assess really whether to hold them.
Well, it takes, I think, a strong ethic around being a coach. I have refused to take on clients who initially, through first discovery call, seemed ready and in the correct place for coaching. However, upon a further communication, it was very, very evident that that process wasn't the right thing, and through revelations of past experiences through counselling or therapy, had rejected even attempting different things in order to heal. Yes. So that, to me, as a coach, was a huge red flag.
Yeah.
Because part of coaching is being willing to try different things, willing to expand, willing to go outside what feels comfortable, even if it doesn't work. We then work out another way forward together. So that person saying, I've had experiences in the past where their methods just didn't suit me and they weren't congruent, and I didn't agree with them, was like, well, you're not ready, you're not open enough or willing enough to participate in this process with an open mind and heart. I didn't, have been a couple of clients where I haven't taken them on that basis.
Absolutely, and that was the right thing to do. So there is something about responsibility on the part of you as the coach, but also the responsibility that's the client's responsibility as well, to be prepared to go there, to be ready and willing and all of those things, and not expect either to be told what to do as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, so something about mutual responsibility, but ethical boundaries as well.
Yeah.
Mm.
Very much so.
Yeah. I think we have another guest that's wanting to say something.
Yeah. I've opened the door for him, so I don't know what he wants. He just wants love.
Yeah, don't we all?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the message he was bringing.
Yeah. But yeah, I was thinking before we came on this morning, I read a really lovely quote while I was having breakfast, and I don't know if you wanted to hear it.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so
Totally.
I don't know who this person, but it's by George Santayana.
Yes.
And it says, to be interested in the changing seasons is a happier state of mind than to be hopelessly in love with spring.
Oh, nice.
I thought that was very apt
Yes.
for what's going on in the world at the moment.
Do tell us more, Karina. I like that.
Well, we're going through lots of changes, right?
We are.
Changes that we can't influence other than staying safe and doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Changes that are unexpected
Yes.
and have shifted us in a huge way.
Yes.
And what I get from this quote is, if we hold on to one thing too tightly, we miss the joy of all the others.
Yeah, beautiful.
So that's what I get from that, and I thought that was quite when we're talking about expansion and open-mindedness and a willingness to experience new things.
Yes,
this can be one of those things.
Absolutely. And it's not to suggest, I guess, that we can't fall in love with lots of different aspects of new change or what's coming our way that's different. But it just means, I guess, not to be so fixed upon one aspect, such that when other stuff comes, we might be blind to it, or that we couldn't be open and embrace new stuff because we're so stuck on that one thing.
Yeah. So it has a sense of rigidness to it. So if we're agile, then we get to experience a lot more joy.
Absolutely.
And I think, if you are someone who loves spring and focuses purely on when spring arrives, what about the rest of it?
What about the other seasons?
It's a waste.
Yeah. So you when you could be having all of those other experiences as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I like that. Thank you for bringing that. And so I guess following from that, how do we get to that place then, to less rigidity and more fluidity? How do we get that? I guess to answer some of that, my own question a little bit, as I say it, is actually the process of change. As we begin to change and are open and willing to change and dissolve old mindsets and conditioning, I guess that's a pathway to more fluidity. And we get there through being open to self-development, self-awareness, whether that's through coaching or counselling or many other forms of self-awareness making that there are.
And curiosity, right?
Absolutely. That's key, isn't it? I wonder. I wonder what else there is.
What more could I learn, or what more is here to be enjoyed, or
lovely.
What else can I gain from this? What does that give me? What would that give me? What could that give me? It's that expansive way of thinking.
Absolutely.
Just like we were talking about yesterday, where sudden changes happen, even in really small ways, but we were talking about the feeling of control being removed from us, and that rug pulling that you said that actually triggered an aha moment for me in the situation that I was describing to you, is very much a shock to the system, so it's almost like an emotional trauma. However, if we can notice that and be curious about it, then that emotion, that sensation that we're feeling doesn't linger or stay with us quite as long as it could do.
Absolutely. And I was thinking some more as well about our conversation yesterday around that sadness that I felt a couple of days ago, and what was it that helped that feeling to dissipate or go away in some way, such that yesterday I was in a completely different place and quite positive and quite high in some ways. It's just, how does that happen? And of course every day is different. There's so many different influences, of course, but the sadness itself, we were talking, weren't we, about, and as you just said, being with the feeling, willingness to stay with the sadness. And really what the key for me beyond that is acceptance. Accepting that this is how it is for now. And then I was thinking, well, actually people out there might be thinking, hold on a minute, are we saying that we should just accept that, okay, I'm feeling shit, and then that's, and I feel bad about myself, I accept that I'm not good enough, I accept that, all the negative thinking kind of stuff. And that isn't at all what I mean by acceptance, and that it's more to do with allowing for the feeling to exist and accepting that it's here now, but knowing that it will pass. And that feels quite different. That means, okay, I'm allowing it to be what it needs to be, to work, the sadness to work through my system, through and out, rather than holding on and pushing through and denying how I feel, but just accepting, letting go, and even surrendering.
Now that you described yesterday, you was describing those emotions as water, running through, and the thoughts that can potentially stop us from being accepting and allowing that to be and to pass are the dams that block that water from flowing through. I don't want to feel this way. I should be doing better than I am now. I shouldn't feel this way. I have no right to feel this way. All those thoughts that we have block those emotions from healthily passing and moving through. You're absolutely right in what you just said. It's not about going, okay, things are really pants right now, that's just the way it is. No, we can still work with that. Allow that moment to be
lovely. And how about that's just the way I am? I hear that a lot.
I call that the yeah but no buts.
Nice.
Yeah, but you're always going to but. That's just the way I am.
That's it.
And that's okay. For a lot of people, that is enough to exist and be happy, and they, have no interest or need to explore things further because they're not feeling that confinement with how those emotions are impacting them. It's for those who feel that confinement and that restriction and that dis-ease and unhappiness about what is, that all these kinds of conversations can assist and support in moving with something and through it in order to get to a better place.
Absolutely, that's lovely. But also that idea that is just how I am, I was born that way, I do like to challenge that. Because somebody comes to you and they might be, and maybe that was me at one point as well, coming to somebody knowing that that they are confined, as you say, in some way, and constricted and not right in themselves, or not congruent, we might say, and yet, but this is who I am. And actually, okay, but were you born in the womb like that? From the womb like that, not in the womb, or did nature did nurture rather help to actually formulate the thoughts that you are now experiencing is holding you back?
It's a very, very interesting point. And the question that I would love to ask someone who says that would be, well, who are you?
Yeah. Yes.
And in a loving way. Who is that person that was just born that way? Mm-hmm. Describe that person to me.
Yes.
There is, there's a lot of science around nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
And the intentional activity that I was talking about yesterday, that 40% of our happiness levels, that is derived from doing things that we enjoy and inspire us. If you look at that 40% on a pie chart, 50% apparently is genetically predispositioned levels of happiness, of what we're genetically inherited in terms of those genes, and 10% is purely only down to circumstance. So what kind of house we have, what kind of job we have, how much money we earn, what car we drive. That counts for 10, because it is that's fleeting moments of happiness that will never stay the same and are subject to what's called hedonic adaptation. So as soon as we achieve something, it loses its shininess.
Yes.
And we're on to the next thing.
Absolutely.
We adapt to that positivity, that joy, and okay, now that's not enough anymore.
Something else.
I want something else.
Yeah. And the 40%? Remind us what the 40% is.
40% is an intentional activity. So these are the things that we do in our everyday lives that bring us joy, inspiration, the sense of freedom, personal freedom, love, how we're able to walk through life and not just support ourselves but other people, the things that we do that we're passionate about, and give us a sense of meaning, because that's really the most important thing to most of us, is that our lives have a sense of meaning, and those pursuits, that 40% is essentially what gives us that.
Fantastic. I like that. Also, the thing about meaning makes me think about actually life. It's really the meaning that it's about the meaning that we choose to give to different circumstances.
Yeah, that's a good one, right?
Huge.
Yeah.
Because it just changes. Your perception is everything, isn't it?
Oh, I read something the other day that was really good, and I can't remember it. Oh, what was it? Let me see if I can find it. Keep talking, Sue.
Okay. I'm not sure what else to say. But it's a huge subject. But then with if we give meaning to something or a situation or a thought, then that follows from a sense of choice, of believing that we have choice.
Yeah.
Which then takes us out of victimhood, if you like.
Yeah.
So then if I have choice and I am able to take responsibility for my life, then I can do that by partly by choosing what meaning I give to the things that happen.
Yeah, that's digging deep again within the story, isn't it? And
yes,
we spoke about this before, in that even when it feels like the choices aren't great, there's still a choice to be had there.
Yes.
And I found the quote, and it's from Jean-Paul Sartre.
The existentialist.
Existentialist. Freedom is what we do with what is done to us.
Oh.
So that's pretty heavy.
Yes, for a Saturday morning.
In order to lighten that up a little bit, the freedom is even when something really bad happens, and enough time has passed and we've allowed ourselves to grieve and go through that process, we can rewrite that story, like Brené Brown says.
Yes.
And we can find the things within it that enable us to strengthen our cause,
Yes,
and
lovely.
exercise that self-leadership that we all have, and the power that we all have within us to get through something in a way that has meaning, and it's not just a wasted bad experience.
Absolutely. It reminds me of Viktor Frankl, and his famous book, the title of which is eluding me right now, something about man's search for meaning, possibly, something like that, where he was in a concentration camp, and yet when he survived that later on, had a narrative around that for himself, which was amazing, which was really beautiful, so moving and touching, and just a testimony to the spirit of humanity, really, and how that can be done by allowing ourselves to have that perspective, as you say, about creating meaning out of what we're dealt with.
It's inspirational, isn't it? And I think sometimes where stories like that may be intimidating to us, is that we're hearing such horrors of what he went through, and we look at that and attempt to apply it to our own lives, and we think, well, my situation is not nearly as horrific, so why am I feeling so bad right now? We then begin to discount ourselves.
Yes.
And that can be damaging in itself, I feel, as well.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, suffering is just all relative, isn't it? Something that might happen to me might be, I might have a traumatic reaction or response to something that happens to me, and yet for you it might not be, or vice versa. We all deal with things so differently depending on our background. So it is all relatively. Something seemingly little, actually could be quite huge. And you're right, and we do discount that, and actually maybe we don't need to discount. Maybe it's okay.
It is okay. It's absolutely okay. And I think that goes back to being able to be kind to ourselves, that we were talking about, and self-compassion, which is one of the hardest things, I think, to exercise. And in what is going on at the moment, where some people are loving this forced time at home, and some people are really struggling with it. That what you've just described is a very appropriate sort of overview that you can take and go, do you know what, I'm feeling like this because of this, and that's okay. However, it is also about taking responsibility for that. So it's not just about languishing in that dark place. It's about working our way back up.
Yes, absolutely. Maybe working ourselves back up to the light. Yes, because following darkness, there is light, usually. Usually. Always to know that this will pass, that this won't be the same forever either. And
emotions are temporary things, aren't they? They do pass, they change, they evolve, they either lessen or intensify. They become part of what we've experienced, and pushing these away is an unhelpful exercise to do, I feel.
Absolutely. And actually we may have learnt to do that in early childhood, as many of us have, that it's not okay to feel your feelings, it's not okay to express them, and if you do, maybe the caregiver doesn't validate those feelings, so you grow up with a sense of, well, it's not okay for me to say how I feel, my feelings don't count. We can imagine then what the result of that is in somebody's life. It's huge, actually.
What do I matter? So that's where the self-worth is really damaged.
Exactly.
And that is, a huge part of the coaching process, or or my coaching process, because what I love to do is to support people in living more courageous and confident lives.
Yes.
So that self-worth is a massive part of restructuring and rebuilding it, or even discovering it for the first time.
Yeah.
Because that is what's going to pave the way forward to step into a state of feeling courageous. And
Yes.
having done that and experienced something will give them the confidence and the evidence to do it over and over again in whatever
Yes.
scenario it is, so that they know that they are worthy of attempting something, they are worthy of
Yes.
achieving something. We're all worthy of that.
Yes. But it's something about learning that, isn't it? Actually, that is something to be learned, because they might have gone through life not even knowing that actually there are options. I can change. It is possible for me to think differently about myself. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
So I guess what we do is to kind of encourage that, don't we? We encourage it and encourage those new patterns to start forming in the brain, new habits, new patterns, new connections in the brain, to be able to think in different ways. And it takes time, doesn't it? Time and patience and belief.
I think that's another misconception about coaching. Some coaching can be really fast and impactful, and some coaching is a longer journey.
Yeah.
So it depends entirely on what the scenario is. If it's something that needs to be achieved very quickly, then we can apply tools in order for those quick transitions to happen.
Yeah.
However, achieving a life goal, for example, or one of those primary goals that we have, there are a lot of sub goals to getting there.
Yes.
And in order for us not to drop off on that journey, that takes continuous persistence and courage and the confidence to try again.
Yes.
Even
to fail.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's okay to fail.
It is. Because I actually don't believe there really is such a thing. If we learn from it, we can take something from not having achieved something.
Yes.
Then how is that a failure?
Exactly. And that's a mindset in itself, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a great example that you've got there of giving meaning to the situation. I can either give it the meaning that, okay, that just is more evidence to support that I'm not good enough, or I can choose to have the meaning of, okay, that was a learning opportunity. What can I do differently next time? What have I learned about myself in the process?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that is a continuous delight.
Lifelong. For all of us. Yes. Sorry, there's just no end point to this.
There is no end point.
No.
But I will give you this. When the source of our positive emotion is ourselves,
yes,
it's an endless source of renewable energy.
Beautiful. I love that.
And that is from the author. I never know how to pronounce her name. I think it's Sonia Lyubomirsky.
Something like that. Yes.
Thank you, Sonia. It is. I think that was one of the best things that I read recently. Is like, oh my God, we are our own source of energy. Nobody else or anything else is going to give us that.
Absolutely, I love that. And there's something about it, in that case, a renewable source of energy needs fuel, a certain kind of fuel to keep that energy going. That fuel is love. And
that's love. And that's that 40% that I was talking about, that intentional activity.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I guess when I say love, it's about self-love as much as anything, isn't it? So that self-compassion that we're talking about, which will then enable all of those other things to come in, to help us grow, all the positive stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
So if your intentional activity that gives you that joy is, say, I'll use myself as an example, drawing or art or photography. And the night before, I had every intention of doing lots of that.
Yeah.
However, I wake up in the morning and I don't really feel like it.
Yes.
I have two choices. I can beat myself up about
Yes.
stepping back from something that I know I love but and intended to do, or I can go, well, this is what I need right now. I need to rest.
Yes,
I just need to
exactly.
switch off,
Mm-hmm.
and do the garden instead, or
Yeah.
read a book,
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's how we approach things. You can make
Yes.
yourself feel really bad for not doing or achieving something,
Yeah.
or you can make
Mm-hmm.
yourself really good by going,
It's okay. And in order to do that, I guess we need to have that sense of that I'm okay.
yeah.
Because if we don't feel okay about ourselves, that won't be okay.
That renewable energy won't be there if we're stomping
Yes.
on ourselves all the time.
Exactly. So something about unstomping.
Yeah.
Unstomping and loving ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to keep doing that. And that's a new habit in itself, a new habit. So in these times, people are talking about routines all the time. It's important to have a routine. Well,
Yeah.
Yes. And it's okay if we choose one day not to have a routine.
Yep.
No. And to choose a routine that's different to other people's, but that works for you if it keeps you healthy. So it's kind of finding our own way.
Yeah.
But
Listening to ourselves.
Listening to ourselves, but also connecting.
Yeah.
I think that's important as well. That's health giving as much as anything else.
Well, we all need emotional support right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And talking is a wonderful way of doing that.
Yes.
I think, that's one of the things that came from yesterday was that just having a to and fro on this level, these kinds of conversations, shines lights and spotlights on things that we may not have seen ourselves, and we suddenly see something from a new perspective, and that is energy giving in itself.
Yes.
Light is energy, isn't it?
Yes.
Our energy comes from the sun, and that's just one big ball of fire and light.
Yes.
So the more light we have on various different things that we're wanting to shine a light on, the broader that spotlight is going to get, the more light.
Absolutely. There's something there about then willingness to shine that light into the darkness, into the shadow of who we are.
Yeah.
And that we all have those aspects to us, and that it's okay. It's okay. It's just about getting to know ourselves and to see what's there. We were talking earlier about curiosity. We're talking now about shining the light. It's that willingness to go there, to those bits that we don't perhaps like about ourselves, and that's okay. And just seeing what's there,
Yeah.
But being willing to, I guess, take that journey.
There can be treasures in that cave.
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. Yes, which take many forms.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a Star Wars fan and a Brené Brown fan.
Yeah, me too.
And in one of her books, she quotes Star Wars, where Yoda is training Luke in the swamp, and he has to go into a cave, and he says, well, what's in there? And Yoda says, only what you take with you.
Oh, man. Yeah.
I love that.
We create our realities.
Yeah. Because of, that conditioning.
Absolutely.
That was set. But that's, the best thing about being in adulthood is we can change that reality.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's a good note to end on. It's very positive and life affirming. We can change. Yes. Lovely. So Karina, let's do this thing where I ask you now, how can people contact you if they wish to get to know you more?
Brilliant. Thank you, Sue. My website, karinawilliamscoaching.com. That may change at some point, I'm not sure, but at the moment that is the best way to get hold of me. So you can either book online or send me an email, and we'll set up a time for a discovery call and explore what it is that you're looking for. So thank you very much, Sue.
Great, no problem. And you might be watching this already on my Sue Orosa page and on my website, so you have the details there if you wanted to contact me.
Well, Sue, if I post this on my page, how can people get in touch with you?
Okay, thank you. I wasn't prompting you to say that, but
No, that was all me.
So from your page then, yes, it's Sue Orosa, which is SUOROSA. So it's on the Sue Orosa Facebook page, or sueorosa.com is my website, and give me a message.
And you run the group as well, don't you?
Yes, I have a Facebook private group which is called Personal Growth Hub, and that's where we can meet to offer each other tips and share inspiring stories, inspiring sayings and quotes, and give each other some support. And there's a mental health check-in day with each other on a Monday and a Friday. So do join us there. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks, Sue.
Thank you, Karina. Thank you very much. Until next time, folks, we're hoping to do this hopefully live, depending on the tech, Fridays at 5:30, all being well. Take care for now. Bye.
Bye.